Hey guys, Luke here, and you know what else is here? Round 9 of the 2019 NRL season. Wait. Oh my god, what's that? Oh. Oh shit. Oh yeah, it's Magic Round. Wingardium Levio. Shit, my tipping is terrible. But yes, Magic Round is here. It should be quite fun at Suncorp. All the games are there over the whole weekend. It should be a really good round of footy. But enough talk about Magic Round. Let's talk about the round itself. Let's start off with Thursday night. The first game sees the Gold Coast Titans taking on the Cronulla Sharks. And I gotta say, last week's Sharks, very, very impressive. Obviously got the win over the Storm. Titans not so much. Tyron Roberts out this week. He's a key to the Titans side in my opinion. Brimson is very, very good. I think he's their best player, to be honest with you. You'd think Ash Taylor would be the best player. Not in my opinion. He finds himself at 5'8", though Brimson does. Michael Gordon back to fullback. I think he's a bit wasted at 5'8", but nonetheless, they need him in the starting side. In terms of the rest of the side, the Titans, they don't really impress me that much. Whereas the Sharks, they're just such a gritty side. You look at their side, a few grubs in their side, but I think every team needs a few grubs, at least all the good sides anyways. And they just have the ability to just stay in the contest for 80 minutes every week. And it doesn't matter who they've really got in the side. As long as they've got a few of their key players, they should be alright. Kyle Flanagan, very good last week. Thought he controlled the game very well. A lot different to Sean Johnson, but not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, I think the Sharks were very, very good last week, and I can see them giving it to the Titans. So for this one, I think my tip is going to be the Sharks 13+. We have two games on Friday night. We'll start off with the first one. The West Tigers taking on the Penrith Panthers. Now, in my opinion, both of these sides have been quite disappointing. I thought the Tigers, maybe disappointing is not the word for the Tigers. I didn't think they'd be that good. They started off quite strong. Panthers just been disappointing right from the get-go. But the thing is, you look at their side, and their side isn't that terrible. It's not a top 4 side, but it's definitely not that bad. On paper, they should beat this Tigers side. I mean, the Tigers side, they're forward packs all over the shop. Chris McQueen finds himself in the starting side this week, and yeah, I mean, they still got Robbie Farah there. He's actually been pretty good, Robbie Farah, but Benji Marshall back in the halves. Obviously, Josh Reynolds is out, but Moses Mbai at the back, definitely a liability in my opinion. You need to do something about that. I mean, it's not a good sign when your captain, your fullback, your star signing is having lots of fans turning against him. But in my opinion, the Panthers, they definitely have the ability to win this game. It's just a matter of whether they turn up. I'm really liking their backline this week. Back to their full, in my opinion, their strongest backline they've fielded so far. Dylan Edwards is on the extended bench, so their new guy is in there. But then you also add in Dean Vara is back this week. I think he's a big inclusion. Kikau is out, which is a huge loss. I think he's their best player. I think he's one of the best second rows in the league. But I still think the Panthers will have enough class. I think you just look at their halves alone. Cleary and Maloney. Origin's coming up in a few weeks. They'll want to impress, and I think they'll get the job done for the Panthers. So I'm going to go Penrith 1-12. On to the second game, we have the Manly Warringah Seagulls taking on the Brisbane Broncos. Now, for this one, it's a little bit surprising. Going into this season, you would think the Broncos would have been an easy win here, but not so much. Manly have been very, very impressive as of late. Des Hasler's got the boys playing very well. Their side on paper is not very good. Their 4-pack's actually quite good, but just their whole side on paper is not that good. The bench isn't very strong, but it's just got a knack of getting these players who are, you know, kind of below average maybe, NRL players, and just bringing them up. They play as a unit. They're just very, very good, this Manly side, as a whole team. The Broncos, on the other hand, are the complete opposite. They've got a few good individual players, like your Milfords and Jack Bird and that, but as a team, they can't put it together. Now, the Broncos actually have quite a few changes themselves here. Obviously, Nick Karimi didn't play last week, did and made his debut, but McAuliffe has gone down injured, so they've got in a new guy. His name's Jake Turpin. I don't know much about him. Also don't know much about their new winger in replacement of Asako. Sako's being dropped. James Roberts being dropped, but you know who hasn't been dropped? Darius Boyd. What the hell is Seabold doing? In terms of picking a winner for this, though, it still is a tough one. You would expect the Broncos far up in front of a home crowd. I know it's not technically a home crowd, but it's still being played at Suncorp. But, I mean, Manly, they've just been so consistent, which is weird to say. But I think at this point, I'm going to have to tip Manly. I know there's no Trebojevic, there's no DCE, but like I said, just way more consistent than the Broncos. The Broncos definitely have the ability to turn up and put 30 or 40 on Manly. Will it happen, though? I don't think so. So I'm going to go Manly 1-12. I think they'll grind out a victory. Now on to Super Saturday. This should be interesting. We have my Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs taking on the Newcastle Knights. Now, straight off, I'm going to tell you, the Knights are going to win this one. My reason being is the Bulldogs have not been good. The Knights are going to be fired up, and the Bulldogs are apparently dropping a whole bunch of players / they can't play. I believe Harry O'Nara and Lachlan Lewis are out due to like personal reasons, and then they're also dropping Reece Martin. What the hell are they doing? And Carrot Holland. I'm okay with Carrot Holland being dropped. but they're bringing in Marcelo Montoya. That's 13 plus for the Knights. That's enough for me to say that. You add in the fact that the Knights have actually been quite consistent in the last few weeks. 2 on the trot. They're actually playing quite well. Mitchell Pearce has found some form. Callum Ponga back at fullback where he should have been. The only question mark is the centers. Ramian is out. Sione Matadia back in the centers, but he's played a lot of center, so I don't think it's that big of an issue. But David Clemmer up against Dylan Napa. Clemmer up against his old club, Best Napa, who's his replacement essentially. I think it should be a good clash. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bulldogs actually do come out and win this, just because, I don't know, they're so inconsistent. 1 week they're shithouse, 1 week they're amazing, but I think the Knights, they're your safe bet. The Knights 13 plus. On to the second game of Saturday, we have the New Zealand Warriors taking on the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Now, I think this one is pretty straightforward. I think the Dragons have the better side. New Zealand away from home, although it's technically a home game for them. Obviously, it's in Brisbane. It's away from New Zealand. So, yeah, they do struggle quite a bit when they play away from home. Their lineup is also a little bit weird as well. Nick Arima making his debut. Will he be a big difference compared to Chanel Harris-Tavita? I don't think so. But the big one is Isaac Luke has been dropped. Why you would drop Isaac Luke, I don't know. I know Nathaniel Roach has been quite good, but Isaac Luke, he's your star hooker. He's signed to be your star hooker. He hasn't been that bad. Surely he's got to have an injury or something, but yeah, this Warriors side, once again, they're another team who's very inconsistent. They could easily come out and just put a hiding on the Dragons, but I just don't see it happening. The Dragons, on the other hand, are actually quite consistent. They've finally found their team, although it's obviously had to be changed this week. Corey Norman not playing. Jai Field comes in. I know he's played a little bit of first grade. I think he's sort of moved around from fullback into this. Has he played wing a little bit? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if he's played the halves in first grade, but he definitely has been playing halves in reserve grade in that. And there's been a lot of hype on this kid. He is quite small, super fast though. A bit different to Corey Norman though, in my opinion. Corey Norman, I wasn't the biggest fan of Corey Norman going into this season, but he's definitely proved his worth at 5'8". And with Widdop going down, Corey Norman really stepped up. Now Corey Norman's gone down. It's up for Ben Hunt to lead this team. Matt Duffy has actually been very, very good at fullback as well. He's been a big inclusion into the side. He's actually been in really, really good form as well. In fact, the Dragons haven't been far off winning. They've played some very tough teams, and they've just come up just a little bit short, but they've always been in the contest. Matt Duffy's been playing phenomenal. You add in Ben Hunt's been playing quite good as well. McInnes has been good. In general, the Dragons have been quite good. So I do expect the Dragons to win this one. I'm going to go 1-12 though, because the Warriors are so hot and cold. They could play good, but I think the Dragons just have a little bit too much. So yeah, Dragons 1-12. On to the last game of Super Saturday, we have the Melbourne Storm taking on the Parramatta Eels. Now, the Melbourne Storm, for me, have been very, very disappointing over the last month, and I think very disappointing in Craig Bellamy's eyes as well. Last week, he threatened to wield the axe, and as far as I could tell, looking at the lineup, I couldn't really see anybody who's been dropped. Curtis Scott still finds himself on the extended bench. The guy they brought in, I can't remember his name, but I mean, he hasn't really impressed me too much. But yeah, just the team in general is not playing very well. They were getting some wins while not playing very well, but the last few weeks obviously haven't been getting the wins. Been quite disappointing. So yeah, part of me expects them to fire up and come out and have a really, really good game. But, I mean, I just can't see it happening against the Eels. The Eels have been very, very good. Now, what I will say is when they play at Bank West, they're unstoppable at this stage. They're 2 from 2. 2 floggings, by the way. Well, I'll say it wasn't really a flogging last week, but they did have a good win. But away from home, not so much. They played against the Tigers, had that win. That was huge. Then they went away and lost, and then they played at Bank West last week and obviously got the win. So their form away from home doesn't seem to be too crash hot. However, the Storm form in general doesn't seem that good. So I would expect the Eels to have a little bit too much for them. I think their backline's too good. I think their forwards are too good. Reid Marnie obviously playing for an origin spot as well. It's funny having Cameron Smith up against Marnie, potentially like the past versus the present in a sense. But yeah, Reid Marnie definitely in contention for a Queensland spot, so he'll have to have a good game here. Gutherson in form, the whole Eels team in form, so I'm going to be picking the Parramatta Eels 13+. Now moving on to Sunday, we have the Sydney Roosters taking on the Canberra Raiders. Now this one has potential to be match of the round in my opinion. It's hard to sort of pick one because I think there's a few good games here, but the Roosters, they're just in such good form, easily the best team of the comp, but the Raiders have been the surprise packet for me. I thought they could be okay this year. I definitely predicted them for the wooden spoon before the season started. But after the first few weeks, you thought, yeah, this team has got something about them. But I just wasn't sold on Jack White in the halves. But he's actually been very, very good. Actually been scoring a lot of tries. Nicole Klotstad been very good. But no matter how good this Raiders team is, they're just still not going to be as good as the Roosters. You add in that Bateman's out. And also, apparently, BJ Leilua, Joseph Leilua, is going to be out for the rest of the season with some sort of neck injury, I think it was. So he's going to be a big loss. But yeah, he's definitely out this week. Bateman's out this week, and I just think the Roosters have got that good of a side. It doesn't matter who they verse, so I'm going to pick the Roosters 13 plus. Now into the last game of round 9, we have the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. Now last week was a little bit of a return to form for the Rabbitohs. I know they've been getting wins, but they hadn't been getting like heaps convincing wins. But last week was a decimation of the Broncos, and the Rabbitohs, they just looked amazing. They played perfectly. They just have a really balanced side. I mean, you look at their halves, very good. The backs, very good. Forwards, very, very strong. I mean, Cody Walker is in the form of his life, arguably the best player in the comp at the moment. Look at the Cowboys side though, not balanced at all. Their forward pack is quite good. Tamalalo, he made a world of difference last week. Tamalalo, easily the best forward, maybe the best forward of all time. In fact, I'm going to say it, best forward of all time. He is just that good, and adding him into any side is going to make a big difference. But I think the Rabbitohs are going to be able to combat that a little bit. I think Tamalalo would be very, very effective, but I don't think he can do it on his own this week. The Rabbitohs side is just a little bit too strong. And for that reason, I think the Rabbitohs are going to win this one. I think they're going to win 13 plus as well. I just think you look at the back line of the Cowboys, it's just not good. The Rabbitohs is quite strong. And yeah, like I said, Rabbitohs 13 plus. So guys, those are my predictions for round 9, the Magic Round. Hopefully it's a great round of footy. I'm really interested to see how this Magic Round goes. It's a great concept. Hopefully everything works out and we have it for years to come. Righto guys, those are my tips. Leave in the comment section below, what are your tips? Also while you're at it, if you did happen to enjoy the video, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke on YT. My Facebook page is in the description below as well, or just search Mr. Luke on Facebook and it should come up. Also go ahead and add me on Snapchat. It's Mr. Luke on YT, same as what's on the screen right now. And guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye guys.